Hey, good evening. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me now? Can you hear me? What I'm saying? Oh, great. Okay, as usual, I think there are some technical glitches. Sorry, folks. I think I was assuming that it's running, and I was started talking for a few minutes, and then realized, seeing the message that it was not ready. Okay, great. So let me start. So thanks for confirming. I see that a lot of you are confirming it. So thanks for confirming. Um, Yeah, I saw a question that how long this session is going to go today. Uh, it's going to probably go for an hour, not more than that. Because oh, great, thanks, Krishna. It's working now. Yeah, so it's going to probably go for an hour, or a little less than an hour, right? So okay, today we're going to talk about key anti-patterns in safe implementation, right? So um, when you implement safe, you know that if you know safe very well, it is it's a framework for yeah, good question. Recording. So, Krishna, is it getting recorded? I think by default it's getting recorded. That's a setup that. Let me just check for a minute. I think it's getting recorded. Yes, because by default the option that we have given is the recording. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about the key anti-patterns in safe implementation. So as you know that safe is for a large scaled agile transformation, right? When there are more than 5 teams, or 10 or 15 teams coming together, if it's getting if we need to build a product using these 5 to 10 teams minimum, then agile is not enough, right? Agile is all about agile. When I say agile, it's a scrum is a too much echo. Is it the same for others? I'm seeing that Shiva is getting too much echo. Can you just confirm, at least one more person? Okay. Looks like Shiva, I think looks like there's a challenge for you. Just okay, if you can look at maybe your headphone or speaker, I think that's good. Okay, so scaled agile is required. Safe is required when there are a bunch of teams that are coming up, and working together and building a product, right? Um, yeah. So now however, scaled agile also has enough challenges when you during implementation, right? And it's just a framework that's a pretty big framework. It's a pretty it's a process framework which has very clearly, very well defined process. And safe also fails, right? It's not that safe is always successful. Safe also fails. It's not because of safe, it's actually because we make it fail, right? It's when I say we make it fail, we don't implement it right, right? So we have some fundamental anti-patterns that we look at, and those anti-patterns are are the ones which create this failure, right? So let me take you through one by one, right? So before we move on, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jay Prakash Prabhakar. I'm the founder of Lean Wisdom. I have been implementing safe ever since the safe was launched, like in 2011. So I'm lucky enough to work in safe framework right from 2011, from 1.0 version all the way till now. Even now, I'm part of some of the programs where we have safe implementation, right? So large programs. Okay, so let's look at this question, right? What are the 2 or 3 reasons for adopting safe? Can you just, those who are implementing safe in this group, can you just put a message in the group here, chat? Then what are some of the reasons for adopting safe, so that we know we are on the same page? Okay, as successful case studies on safe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Karthik, we'll come to that a bit later. My question is about, let's probably address this question. What are the 2 or 3 reasons for you adopting SAFe? Yes, that's right. Right, it's beyond 5 Scrum teams. Scrum is not enough. Yeah, yeah. So I see that there are many teams working for one big project. Absolutely. Structured approach, yes, is a good reason. SAFe is very well structured. It's for business agility, absolutely. Business team. Um, Widely adopted among all the schema. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's good. So I think there are reasons. The reason why we are moving to safe is, I think, pretty much most of you have said it, right? First one is definitely that there are more teams. A framework like Scrum doesn't know what to do. Scrum doesn't know what to do the moment you have 2 teams, right? Because Scrum is all about one team, which is one Scrum Master, one product owner, and bunch of guys working together. Yes, and it's also for a very complex systems, right? So building a complex system with multiple teams, like 5 to 10 teams or more. What if we need a 500 member organization to build one large solution, right? So we Scrum will just not work even beyond a team. So we need a framework which is a scaling agile framework, right? So it's for a very large complex systems if we build. So the last time, if you would have attended a webinar, you would have gone through, like, how humankind has changed, mankind has changed over a period of of millions of years, and how much of change that we are seeing in the last 20 years. Like last 20 years, we have gone through a lot of change. Industry has gone through so much of change. Human has gone through a lot of change, and the products also that we build are not simple ones. 20 years back, it was good to have just one team building a product, right? But today, it is not the case. Today, it's very very hard to see that one team, 5 member team, building one product, right? So we need a framework that is required to you know bring people together and build a product, right? So that's where the safe comes, which means safe is complex, right? Safe is very complex, right? And if you look at this framework, the photo that I put it in the slide, this is what is all about safe, right? Safe has got multiple layers, as some of you said. Like, it has got the bottom layer, team layer. The second layer is a program. Then if you're building a large solution, like hundreds of people, then um, then you need a large solution. And what if the whole organization is wants to move to a one framework? Then you need a portfolio, right, layer, right? So it's safe is for large systems development, right? Not for a small product development, right? It's a large product or systems development or solution development. Yeah. So let's start looking at what are those anti-patterns, right? Fundamentally, the anti-patterns that we have is, even if it's agile, there are quite a few anti-patterns, right? I'll tell you, I know there are 747. This is what I always call it. There are 747 versions of Scrum or Agile that we use within one team, right? We try. When I ask people, like, hey, do we, are you Agile? They say, yeah, we are Agile. We do daily Scrum, right? That's how it goes, right? So we don't. We claim ourselves Agile based on our own definition, right? So there are enough anti-patterns that we have with the teams. Now that we are moving to safe, there are much more, right? Because the framework itself is complex, and that expects a lot of discipline, and so obviously there are many more anti-patterns. So the first anti-pattern is, in my view, is missing leadership commitment, right? Safe is all about leadership driven product development. Safe is about, okay, what do you mean by anti-pattern? So Karthik, when I say anti-pattern, um, if you're supposed to do X, and if you don't do X and you do Y, and which is completely based on your understanding, and then if you don't understand well, and if you follow your own way, and that's not the way we're supposed to follow, it's not a pattern, right? It's an anti-pattern. So you're not anti-pattern is something that um, yeah, exactly. Like, people, we are using Jira, so we are agile. That's an anti-pattern, right? We just do daily stand-up, and so we are agile. That's an anti-pattern, right? We have a Scrum team, but we don't have a Scrum Master. Is an anti-pattern. We have a Scrum team. But we have a product owner shared across 7 teams. it is an anti-pattern, right? So like that, there are many anti-patterns that we have in agile implementation itself. The moment we scale it, there are much more anti-patterns, right? Much bigger anti-patterns. That impact is so high, right? So the first anti-pattern that, or the biggest anti-pattern that I see, which impacts big. So Anil, so you're asking for a case study. I think I'm not going to share it in this session. I have multiple case studies. I strongly believe that SAFe is not waterfall. If you think SAFe is waterfall, I think your understanding is wrong. SAFe is lean agile. There's a big difference between SAFe as a waterfall and SAFe as lean agile, right? I think if you can read about if you can read about SAFe and what is lean and what is agile, you will understand. Yeah. So I'm not going to cover about that topic today. SAFe is a waterfall or not? That was an argument that started like years back, but people understand now that it's no more a valid argument. Okay. So the first anti-pattern that I see in SAFe is leadership commitment missing. Right. As I said, SAFe is all about leadership driven execution, leadership driven planning and execution. So if you look at the framework at the bottom, I've highlighted here that the foundation, the fundamental basic component of SAFe is a lean agile leadership, right? That's why I said it's not waterfall, it's a lean agile leadership. So lean agile leadership is a foundation of SAFe, and that itself is missing is a big anti-pattern. I'll give you an example of how does it become anti-pattern. So for example, leader not committing, right? Leader not committing to SAFe. For example, SAFe expects certain boundaries, like for example, you need to have a backlog. When do we need SAFe? Let me just go back so that we understand this a little more clear. When do we need SAFe? One is we have multiple teams, and second thing is we build enterprise product. SAFe is required when we build a complex enterprise system, right? So complex enterprise system, if you're building a complex enterprise system, we definitely have to follow certain guidelines. For example, having a backlog for at least for some time, for 3 to 6 months is an expectation, because we're building enterprise system, we should know what are we building. If we don't know what we are building, that means it's a purely clear anti-pattern. And without a leadership support, having a vision, roadmap, and backlog is not an easy thing, right? My experience even today is one of the big things that we fail is not having a backlog, right? That's a commitment. Second is SAFe gives a huge result over a period, right? Over a period of time. When you start implementing SAFe, after it takes like exactly, yeah. So like what Rajendra is saying is like 150 to 125 people we have, then it's good to have a SAFe, right? Minimum 50 people, right? 50 people working together for a product minimum, or 100 people working together for a product, and if you don't know what are we building, it's a serious problem. And who is responsible for it? Somebody in the leadership who is responsible for a backlog or responsible for defining a vision roadmap is not doing the job. So that's a clear missing in action, right? Second is expecting a result overnight. It doesn't happen. Anything we go through learning, right? We even take smallest things, like we learn cycling. We start walking when we were a kid. It takes time, right? We don't walk the first time. We fail probably multiple times. Fail is such a wonderful culture, but if you expect SAFe to work the first time, it is not going to work, because you have to learn where you're failing so that you can fix that and then you can move forward. If you don't get a leadership support, I have seen many times that leaders coming and asking for it, saying that, hey, can you make sure that first PI itself we are very successful. I say that no, sorry, I am not a magician. It doesn't work. Your organization needs to learn where they are failing and how they are failing, so that they can learn from that and move forward, right? So there are multiple aspects, many aspects where we need a strong leadership commitment to make it happen. Waiting for 2 to 3 PIs to get decent result, and then it'll just it'll go up above the roof, right? The results will go above the roof. That patience, like let's wait for 2 PIs at least, to learn and come out of the mistakes that we make, and then start producing a good product, right? So that's a leadership commitment. So I can give a lot of examples like that. So the next one is, if you look at the second one, this is called the house of lean, right? There are 4 pillars. There's a roof and the foundation, and this is coming from lean world. right? The lean has this structure, and the safe claims that, safe, there's a safe house of lean, house of lean, and the foundation of the house of lean is leadership, right? So what does a leadership mean? Yeah. So leadership means, so if you look at the next picture, like next at the bottom, leadership is, for the leadership should have few things. Like, definitely leader should be a lean thinker. Leaders should understand what is lean, right? Um, Understanding lean the world. So, for example, how the world, like, Toyotas, and all these manufacturing companies work in the lean organization, and how do we implement the similar concepts here? One example is removing um, waste, right? Most of the time we spend, most of the time that we get stuck is because of waste, not because of inefficiency in execution, right? Are we able to remove waste? Are we able to focus on waste instead of focusing on improving velocity? I'll give you example, simple example. If you have a lease system in office, right, and in your organization, you applying for leave takes how long it will take? Maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, because you know the reason, what are you, and you know when you are going to apply, when are you going to take off. So you take 2-3 minutes. How long it will take for the manager to approve? If you have, manager is sitting there and opening this, your leave request, another 2-3 minutes. Yeah, that's it. How long it normally takes? It probably takes, like, a week, or sometimes you have auto approval. Yeah, we built up auto approval system to avoid this, right? 2 minutes of applying for a leave and 2 minutes for approval, but it takes 2 weeks. Why will it take? Where will you focus and remove? We should focus on removing the waste of time here, waiting. Right? This is one of the fundamental lean principles. Like, where are we wasting time? Where are we wasting energy? Can we take that out? Right? So that's a lean thinking. One example. Right? There are multiple examples. I'm just giving one example. Right? So, so a leader should be absolutely a lean thinker, thinking about removal of waste, removal of, bringing the best practices, and so on at the organization level. Second is, leader should lead the transformation. Leader cannot say that, okay. So most of the agile teams that I see, that, where leader says that, okay, this is a team of like 5-7 people, please go and transform them. Leaders' skin in the game is very, very low, very, very limited, right? Wherein in SAFe, we are bringing 100 people. Self-organization doesn't work in a in SAFe world. There is no such thing called self-organization. We have to organize the system. We have to organize all these teams together to bring the value. So leading the transformation is one of the key aspects of a leadership, which means a leader takes the responsibility that the failure or a success of this transformation is because of me, right? Not because of my teams, right? That's a big change, right? So uh, so Rajendra, so you're asking, why does a CX level or a leadership team buy in concepts of lean or agile? Yeah, so because you get results, right? 100% sure. I have worked on multiple safe programs in the past. I've seen huge results because the framework is proven in the manufacturing world, and it has been, a lot of concepts have been borrowed from that lean concepts, and along with agile together it is working so beautiful. So that's why everybody wants to move, because it gives a result. It gives a solid expected result, right? By the leadership. So the fundamental challenge that we have is leaders have very less knowledge in agile or safe, right? I have seen many of the vice presidents, or the CXOs, of an organization say agile. Hey, yeah, we want to move to agile, but they have no idea about agile, or their understanding of agile is totally different from the definition of agility, right? Number one, that is a fundamental thing. So it's very important for leadership to spend some time understanding safe. Number two, leaders don't own the transformation, right? This is another bigger problem. Even today I face this, in multiple programs, where when there is a problem, leaders step up and say that I will fix this, right? The problem in a structure, the problem in a culture of the organization, and I will fix it because it is not a framework issue. It is a culture that I have built in my organization that need to change, right? I own the transformation, right? The success or failure is because of me, right? Third is, but because they don't own it, or they're too busy, they don't have time to review. This is a very sad part of it. They don't have time to review the transformation progress, right? We don't really do a deep dive analysis of where are we now, what do we want to go, where do we want to go, defining even the goals itself, right? What is our business goal? Why are we moving from non-agile to agile or safe? Do we know the reasons, right? Clearly, and define it, not high level definition like, yeah, we want to get productivity. What does it mean? What's current productivity, or what's the definition of productivity? Is productivity based on the release cycles, or is it based on the number of user story we deliver? Have to define it very, very clearly. Yeah. So that's another failure. Like, the leaders don't know why are we moving, or they have very vague idea about transformation goals itself. Like, what do you want to achieve? And so we don't review the progress. Yeah. The last one is I've seen leaders uh, focusing much more deeper, but stay only at a process level. For example, hey, how is it? How is our these meetings happening? How is the PI planning happening? How is the PI execution happening? How is daily Scrum working in each of the teams? That's not enough. Transformation starts with the process, but it has to end with a cultural transformation, a result-driven transformation, right? So these are all the fundamental issues that we have in SAFe. So let's look at how do we fix it, right? We have to fix it. It is not the problem introduced by SAFe. It is the way we have implemented SAFe is the problem, right? So let me take step by step. So this is a picture of the SAFe implementation roadmap. Like, SAFe clearly gives a roadmap that that we need to execute. And if you execute in this way, right, I call it like I call it like implementation snake. Like, it looks like a snake. Like, at the end of it, there is a you see here at the end, the bottom, like, it looks like a head of this snake. So I call it like snake. And the snake, this implementation roadmap clearly tells us how do we need to execute. And if you miss some of this process, right, or some of the steps, the result that you expect, you will not get it, right? First one, training if you look at that, I highlighted in some of the boxes, red color boxes. Training executive managers and leaders on lean, on SAFe, on agile is very, very important, right? So if because leaders own the transformation, they need to understand, what does it mean to me? How am I going to get results, right? Yes, I'm just reading these comments. Like, Rajender says, and I believe most of the leadership team only interested or worried about ROI and the numbers. Absolutely, right? This is a challenge. And yes, Anil, like, looks like leaders, leaders look at ROI and numbers. Leaders cannot stay at just looking at the numbers. It is if you are a leader, it is your game. You are playing the game, right? You cannot just say that, okay, I need these numbers, give me this magic number overnight. Magic number is not coming, not because of SAFe, and probably because of the structure of the organization, because we don't have right people, right? I'll come to some of the examples next slides, right? So that if we don't fix our organization culture, the team culture, or the team structure, SAFe is a simple process framework. Let me put it this way. SAFe is just a simple, beautiful process framework. If you have a deeper problem in your organization, like a structural issues, you don't have right people managing it, right? Or if you don't have a right practices in place, quality practices in place, or if you don't have right culture in place, like if there is no ownership culture, right? Or failure is considered as a bad thing. SAFe is a framework. Framework will not fix all these things. We as humans need to fix those things, right? So that is why there has to be a thorough education to the leaders that understand the lean part of it, understand agile part of it, and your skin is in the game, right? So that's the first thing that you need to do, that, and identify a value stream and identify a release train that where you want to really get a result. It's how I do is I make sure that if I'm given an option, like there are 5 programs that I have. We have, as if the leader comes to me and says that, hey, we have 5 programs, and which one we need to pick, I would tell the leader that pick the one which is suffering a lot, which is suffering the most, right? Because that's where you need a faster result. So let's look at that and pick a value stream and pick one particular release train or one program that need to go through the journey, and train the leaders of the program also, right? That's very, very important. So that's a definitely first step, that leaders have to be educated, right? Educate leaders, set clear expectations on journey, right? Define leadership working agreements, right? This is something that wherever I followed, I succeeded big. Wherever I could not, I've seen failures. I'll give you an example. Because it's a leadership driven transformation, because there are hundreds of people working together and building a product, the leadership, we need to make an agreement with the leaders that, how are we going to get this result? What is that? What is it you're going to do? What am I going to do? For example, every leader that I talk to, I always talk to them like that. Hey, my skin is in the game here, as long as your skin is also in the game, right? For example, I'm a consultant, right? I'm not I'm not a person who can fix your organizational issues, right? I'm an individual contributor. I have knowledge and I come and transform your organization. But when I come across a problem, I want you to fix the problem. Right? If you and that's an agreement that we need to make with leaders, right? The leaders need to understand that yes, it is very important. Get agreement. Leaders need to understand that yes. Say for example, I make an agreement that hey leader, don't expect results from overnight, right? Because the problem that you have today is injected from the last 20 years, 15 years. Don't expect one framework to fix it overnight. It may take one or two PIs. First PI we will execute to understand the problems. Second PI will start fixing it, right? You may surprisingly, if it is not a big damage, maybe second PI you will start getting results. Don't assume that results will come overnight, because we have built we have a I have seen programs like which is like fourth stage cancer patient, right? It's totally damaged. Now we want that to be transformed overnight. It will not happen, right? We have to take stringent actions. So that's where I go to the leader saying that when I see a problem which is not a framework related issue, when I see a problem in your organization, I want you to fix it. Can we make an agreement? Wherever the leader made an agreement and leader was with me to change the culture of the organization, I have seen huge results in SAFE. I'll give you one example. In one of the programs in Intel, I got 8x productivity, 8x productivity of 140 people in 1.5 years, 1.5 to 2 years. 8 times productivity is not a joke overnight, right? That was like 1.5 years, and this program was working for 13 years in the past. Then we just moved them from waterfall to SAFE, not even Agile to SAFE. We directly moved from waterfall, and we got the results. It was purely because one of the predominant reason was because the leader was committed. Yeah, so leaders have to be committed. We have to make that straight from the beginning and make a clear working agreement. Yeah. Next is constantly involve leaders. So if you see on the left side, I put constantly involve leaders. What does it mean? Now that leader made an agreement, yes, I'll do it. Leader cannot just go out. Yeah. So Rajendra, how do you measure productivity? The right definition of productivity is shorter time to market, right? For example, if you are able to release a product in a year now, right now our release cycle is once a year, and you are able to make it to like once in 6 months, that means you got 2x productivity. If we are able to make it to like once in 3 months, you got 4x productivity. So a product actually it's more than 8x. Today the same product is like we used to release once in 1.5 years, 18 months, and that was in 2011 when we moved to SAFE. And from that time, within less than 2 years, we were able to release every quarter, right? And within 3 years, we were able to release every 1.5 months. And today, the same product gets released every 1 week, from 1.5 years to 1 week. So the good definition of productivity measure is release time to market, right? The other way, which is commonly used, is velocity based measure. Like okay, we are able to deliver 50 story points. Okay, tomorrow we are able to deliver 100 story points. We are 2x productivity. That is not the right definition. That's how the industry follows. Many of the teams follow, but that's not the right definition. However, the surprising thing that I have seen is when the release cycle productivity increases, the definition of velocity, the productivity in velocity also increases, right? Because I'm able to release faster. Every time I'm able to release faster, much faster, I'm able to I actually do a good job. I'm not going to do rework on it multiple times. And when I don't rework on it multiple times, if I don't have a defect to fix, what will I do? I build a new feature. Next time, I build one more feature. So I won't work multiple times. The large product development, or the release cycles normally have a big regression phase and defect fixing phase. If you do shorter releases, small releases, you are able to release much more faster. Yes, exactly, right? So without automation, yeah. So automation is required. So, and the safe will put the foot down and say that, hey guys, you have to automate, because safe is, at a team level, it is agile. Agile without automation is a failure. So we have to focus on it. We have built a product for last 15 years without automation, and now we will focus on it, because this fundamental team level framework is a Scrum. So we have to put some clear practices in place. Yeah. So in each of this step, during the execution, keep involving the leaders. So you can see, like, 2 sprints are done. We have a system demo. Why don't you come in, provide your inputs, right? And then after one or two sprints, either, hey, these are all the impediments we have. Can you come and review our program board? Can you come and review our risk board? Because we want your help in removing some of the impediments. Team is not able to remove. For example, if there is a budget required for buying a hardware, or things like that, and that's a big impediment, we need leader support, and leaders need to help remove impediments, help remove risks, right? So constantly we need leaders involvement, right? So that's one thing, right? And finally, yeah, so we need to constantly involve the leaders and succeed, out of throughout the execution, right? When the leaders involve, we see that leaders start. My experience is, when the leaders get involved in the whole transformation, they understand the problem that the team faces, right? I have another strong belief, right? Probably some of you will disagree with me, but it is my belief. Yeah. The last set of people that I will blame for failure of transformation is the team. The last set of people. Team is always good in my experience. Teams are those people who are, like, 3, 5, 8 years experience folks, who are there to produce a product which we want them to produce, right? Or with them to write a code, and then build a design, and do right test, and then release it. I've always seen that team is so fast in adapting, but the biggest failure that we see is the leadership not aligning, right? So if the leadership gets aligned from the day one, and then understand the problem of the team, the transformation goes much more faster. Yeah. So that is the basic of the leadership part. Yeah, that's one part. That is my first anti-pattern that I have seen. The majority of the times that I've seen safe succeeding big, or safe not succeeding, is because of the leaders, right? It's a purely the leadership driven. Yeah. Second is backlog readiness. Uh, backlog readiness, right? The safe, like, Scrum. If you're a Scrum team, what does the backlog definition mean? Backlog is, like, you have a sprint backlog and you have a product backlog. All that we need to have in product backlog is maybe next to 2 sprints of refined backlog. If you have 2 sprints of refined backlog, we are good enough, right? That's a definition of a backlog in Scrum. Is that enough? Definitely not. Safe, as I said, safe is all about building a large product, large program, large system, right? So if you have 100 people working together, and if you have just a backlog of, like, 2 sprints, right, or 3 sprints, is that enough? No, definitely not enough. So if we take any lean organization, I'll give you an example. A non-software lean organization like Toyota, they have a vision roadmap for the next 5-7 years. Absolutely, right? So, like, they know what kind of a car they're going to release in 2023, what kind of a cars we'll have to release in 2025. At least a very, very high level vision, right? That is an enterprise system that we're talking about, right? If you're moving to safe, we are also building an enterprise system. That's why we are moving to safe. And if you're moving to safe, that we are building an enterprise system, and without a backlog is a big no, which is another big anti-pattern, right? So safe definition is, if you are a program level safe, you need to have at least multiple PI program roadmap, clear program roadmap. Yeah. If you are a solution level, if you need to. So when it's a solution, there are multiple programs running together. Like let's assume, like banking is a solution. That's a good example of a solution. If a personal banking, you have so let's take examples of the modules of big modules of banking. You have personal banking, you have corporate banking, you have investments, you have loans, right? These are all big modules. And personal banking alone, if you log into your system, you will see like hundreds of features, right? That is a program by itself. You probably need 100 people to or 50 people to minimum to build a personal banking. It's a huge system. Yeah. So assume that let's have like 3 or 4 programs, right, working 5 programs working together to build a banking solution. That's an example of a solution. If you are building a solution with 500 people, 250 to 500 people, that means you need to have multi-year solution roadmap. It need not be very accurate, it can be very high level, but we need to know which direction we are going. If we don't have a backlog in a multi-year for a solution, if we don't have a backlog for a multiple PI at a program level, this is a definite clear reason for safe failure. And this is what safe recommends. And if we don't have a backlog, it's not because of safe we fail, it is we fail because we are not ready. We are not getting ready for a safe implementation. Yeah. So we need to focus on remember, backlog is a source of truth. Yeah. If backlog doesn't exist, whatever great people that we have in technical side, great architects, great engineers, and they don't know what to build, we will not build the right product. Very, very, very simple logic, right? There's no rocket science here. We don't know what to build, even if we know how to build, right? If somebody tells construct we have a super construction team, and if somebody comes and tells, hey, I need a theater, can you build? If I don't know whether I'm building a movie theater or a operation theater, whatever skill I have in technically, I'm not going to build a good a product that my customer wants. I need to know what do you want, right? So we need to build that backlog, and in safe we need to build a backlog of at least multiple PIs. If you look at the left side, all that I'm saying is one PI, absolute clear backlog, which is like which can be committed by the team, and 2 more PIs of at least a roadmap, right? High level roadmap forecast. Probably these are placeholders that instead of saying that we don't even know what to build, hey, looks like I know approximately this is what we are building, but but at least we know high level what we want to build. That can change. There's a big difference between not having a backlog versus I have a backlog but things can change. There's a big difference. You know what's the difference? I don't know the backlog. I have no idea as a product manager what am I building. I have a backlog but things can change. I'm also looking at my continuous customer feedback, continuous exploration of my backlog, and things can change on my way. There's a big difference. So product managers not having a big backlog, for more than a PI is definitely a very big anti-pattern. Yeah. Yeah. So Anil, I think your question is very very simple. Why will not have a backlog? And that's a hard fact that we don't have a backlog, right? Completely things changes, right? Every program that I worked, or 1 out of 3 programs that I worked in the past in safe, I have seen this fundamental problem. We have 2 high level 50 feet 50,000 feet high level vision and roadmap, not at the ground level, right? It's too high, saying that, hey, I want to build a rocket. I have no idea what is it, right? So that's a challenge, right? Yeah. So who's responsible for a backlog? So there is a role in safe called product manager, right? This is the product manager is a kind of a visionary he's a person who creates a vision and roadmap for a program of 50 to 125 people. So this person should own it. So we need to have a role created, right? And the role should actually be working towards clear backlog. If you don't have a backlog, it will be a failure. As again, I'm repeating, right? So Anil, I have seen, and I'm even today I'm seeing this problem that we don't have a backlog and we fail. Right? So okay, what else in backlog? So Rajendra, you're asking who is the person who's responsible. So if you see on the left side, there's a product and solution management, right? There's one role called product management. That person is responsible for building a backlog. However, on the right side, you see that there is a system and solution engineer, like this architect, right? He's also responsible for the backlog, right? So What is a backlog? On the left side is all about product backlog. On the left side is all about enabler backlog. It's all about technical backlog, right? What are we building? So product manager says I want to build this, and architect says this is how I want to build this, the how part of it. So they both need to there is a role called Rajendra, your question is about program manager. There is a role called program RTE, release train engineer in SAFe, that plays a good part of program management. Yeah. Okay, first of all, these two people, are we talking together, right? Are we talking to each other, right? Product manager and architect should be constantly talking to build a good backlog. And backlog is a combination of a feature, which is a list of product backlog items, versus also with a technical backlog, right? The both are required. So second part is, what percentage of our capacity is being allocated for this PI to build a feature, to build enablers, and to focus on our technical debt, and so on, right? This capacity planning has to happen during a PI planning or before the PI planning. Hey, 70% of the capacity is what? Product manager always wants a feature to be built, but architect, the reason for bringing architects here is architect should be able to tell the product manager, hey, you know what, we have to build certain kind of architecture, and we need to spend some good time on doing a research, or we need to spend the enablers, which is a research more spike, or we have a lot of technical debt in the past, right? Technical debt is like something should have been done which is not done, right? In the past, like say, like in Anil's example, automation is not, we have no automation, so we have to spend some time on automation. So can we keep some 20% capacity every sprint going forward in focusing on building automation, or removing code refactoring, or removing technical debts like static errors, right? And so on, so this conversation has to happen between a product manager and product architect, right? And then keep the backlog and ready for in both the sides. Okay, so that's what it is. Are you thinking of keeping capacity for non-feature development? Feature development, it's not always about building features. It's also about, so I look at it this way, right? Two ways you can look at it. One is, what is my product backlog? Second is, what is my product health backlog? Is my health good, right? Product backlog is all about building new features, but am I building a right product, right? That is the first thing. Second is, am I building product right? Is it right? Is it built in the right way, or do we need to refix it? Or I have been building this for years, and it looks like something fundamentally we have missed it. We want to go back and fix it, and that's what it means. Like they need to look at always a non-feature development scope. Yeah. RT owns no, so RT is the servant leader. RT, I will call it as chief scrum master at a program level. And in my definition, RT is a very effective program manager with agility in mind, right? Let me repeat once again. RT is a very effective program manager with agility in mind. Only then RT can be effective. He's not only the scrum master, he's also beyond scrum master to make sure that the RT understands program management. Yeah? So if you're a great program manager and you believe in Agile, you can be a good RT. If one of these two are missing, no, RT role will not work, because I've never played a program manager role, or I'm not a believer of Agile. This will fail, right? This role will fail. Okay, are we ready for a PA planning? Next is, now that we assume that we have a backlog, and somebody says, hey, we have a backlog, what does it mean? Let's look at readiness for the I've seen many times, yes, we have a backlog, but it's a large epic. When I say large epic, that one line item will take 7 months to build, or 9 months to build. 3 PIs it will take to build. Have you broken it into smaller stories, not smaller features? Are the features broken into stories? Do we have clear priority or ranking done based on techniques like WSJF? Do we have enough feature for this PI? Approximately 10 features that do we have for this PI? Right? Are there features vertically sliced? I have seen features horizontally sliced. Well, a complete feature is a UI, a complete feature of a backend. That's not going to work. This is a very classical example of team trying to be agile, but at program level we are waterfall. Right? Assume that a team A is building a UI and team B is building a backend, right? Or a Java code. Now, a product need to work, both have to come together. When will both come together? Only when both are built. We are probably agile. We're trying to be agile by incrementally building in Scrum, sprint and sprint over sprint. But only when they both get integrated, you get a complete feature. So at a higher a scale, we are a beautiful waterfall, right? That's a failure. So are we slicing the features vertically that can be delivered end to end, right? Do we have non-functional requirements clearly addressed? That's one part is all about backlog. The second part is, do we have clear architectural guidelines? Do we have a UX definition? Like, do we have user experience guidelines given? Or do we have right prototype done, high level prototype done before we, before we get into PA planning, right? So, and a few other things are like, do we have blockers like, um, um, infrastructure is not ready, right? Without having infrastructure, what are you going to build? Or do we know how to build it? Like, this is another common problem that I see, especially when you're in a niche technology space where we don't know how to build it. The team doesn't have any idea about how to build this product. So because technically we're not good at it. So we have to start building a competency, right? Another big problem that I see is competencies are not built over a period, because we have been siloed for years, like 15-20 years. Like, I know only Java, I know only JavaScript, I know only database, I know only testing, and the two manual testing. The moment we come together, we have a failure, right? That need to be, that now we have to see how do we build cross-functional skill, right? Or can we look at building our skill for at least for next 1 or 2 PIs, so that we can build a good product. Last one is, are we looking at our dependencies, risks, all of this, so that while planning, we know, we are able to plan effectively. Yeah. Okay. So in summary, so yes, Anurag, I agree with you. Like, one of the failures definitely is, we'll talk about it, Anurag, in the next slide. Technical agility is one of the key practices that we don't follow, and that leads to a failure, right? So just following a sprint plan review retrospectives doesn't help. We have to write a good code. Very important, right? So what are the actions that we should take? Definitely product manager and architect should work together, and they should be ahead of the program, ahead of the team, at least by couple of PIs, and they should have clear vision, roadmap, backlog, architecture, all of this ready. And constant collaboration is required. Clearly define a definition of ready for a planning. When will I say that this line item, backlog item is ready? Only then I will pick it. Some examples I've given is in the last slide. They're all the readiness, right? DO definition of ready for us to pick it in the implementation, in a PI, right? So define that very well, and make sure we track it. I have seen big success when we define it and say that only those which are DOR met features will come into PI. Whatever has come into PI was very beautifully executed, because we know how to, we know how to. We know what to build, we know how to build. There are no impediments, blockers, or majority of them removed. There are few, but we can manage that. When you're so absolutely clear during a planning, it will be great that you can actually do much. The teams will do wonders. Okay, now I'm coming to those agility, scaling agility without agility. So scaling agile is very important. However, without agility, scaling agile will not work. I'll give you an example. This is a common statement that I make. Agile not being agile is okay. Scaling agile not being agile is a sin, right? Straight away. I'll give you an example. A 5-member team writing a code for one sprint, probably they'll write, say, 2,000 lines of code, right? 2,000 lines of code that they write. Take a scenario, right? Now, what if they write a bad code and 50% of the code is bad? Let's take an example. Like, the technical agility is so bad that we have written 50% of the code is bad code, which means 100. Out of 2,000, 1,000 lines are bad code. Is it good or bad? It is definitely bad. Now, 6 months, which is 12 sprints, like 2 week sprints, 12 sprints. So we have written 24,000 lines of code. In that, half of it is bad, which is 12,000 lines of code is bad. Is it good or bad? It is really bad. Let me give you another example. With the same maturity, same agility, if we move 15 teams to, let's say, take an example, 15 teams together to a safe program without making any change in our process and practices. How many lines of code we will write in 6 months? It's straightforward, 24,000 into 12 sprints. And you can imagine the lines of code that the teams would have written. The engine is so very powerful. This this so many teams working together will be very, very powerful. If you don't utilize it right, they will actually build a very, very bad product. So fundamentally, agility, we need agility at a process level, right? At least Scrum, are we following good Scrum? Number one. Yeah. Second is, are we looking at improvement? The same example that I gave in the past. At a team level also, we need to look at what percentage of backlog goes to product backlog, what percentage of backlog goes to improvement, what percentage like refactoring, and what percentage of backlog goes to maintaining the existing product, like customer defect fixes and so on. Yeah. So this has to be planned every team level. And team should be incrementally building a product. When I say incrementally building a product, 2 week sprint is a project for me, right? So if you take a 2 week sprint, it's a project. The day 1 and day 10, this is a project. So in these 10 days, I need to incrementally build a product. Every second day, third day, there has to be some outcome that's coming out, not that everything coming at the end of the sprint. If everything gets delivered at the end of the sprint, let me tell you, which is a common case in our industry, let me tell you, that is a beautiful waterfall inside a sprint, right? That's a bad thing. So how will you know Agile is very good? Agile is very good. You are a very good Agile team if you are able to incrementally deliver on a daily basis. When I say deliver, you don't have to deliver to customer, but you are done with some work which can be demonstrated. Yeah. So what's the next thing? Yeah, this is the same example, right? Define, build, and test. Define, build, and test. Right? You are able to, within an iteration, you are incrementally delivering a value. Yeah. So what's the next one? Technical agility. Right? This is exactly what Anurag was mentioning about technical agility. Right? The first part we spoke is all about process, right? A Scrum process, following user story, either a Scrum process like sprint plan review, retrospective, daily Scrum, and backlog refinement, and 3 roles like Scrum Master, product owner, development team. All of these are about process. The next step is definitely we should focus on technical agility. Like, are we writing a good code? Are we following good practices? Do we have automation in place? Do we have code? How effective is our code review? Are we following test-driven development? How effective is that? Can we follow pair programming? Right? Can we follow lean UX? Or can we follow like behavioral-driven development? A lot of technical agility parts that we can really focus on. Yeah. So I think the team level, we definitely need to focus on those. The next one, a bigger problem is in our organizations are like we are more cross-functional, more functional than cross-functional. When I say functional versus cross-functional, number one is we are siloed. Individual people have their own skills. Even if you bring them to one team, a Java developer is a Java developer in a team, and that person never tries beyond Java development. Are we able to step beyond our boundaries? Like a Java developer moving out of Java and doing a little bit of JavaScript coding, or doing some level of automation, or some level of testing. Move out of your boundary in every sprint, right? That's how you build a cross-functional skill, right? So team being cross-functional is very important. Last one, these are all the 6 things that are critical at a team level, but do we have a right Agile culture, right? Our Agile culture has to be very, very good to be scaling. So if you don't have any of this and move to safe, scaling Agile will fail. So if you are moving to safe, please make sure that first you are a good Agile team, right? Or if you're not a good Agile team, moving to safe, there's nothing wrong in it. Or you should focus on improving your agility first before scaling agility. Yeah. So these are all the few things we spoke about. Definitely implement Scrum, identify the gaps, and clearly define the metrics, and have a clear metrics on for the gaps. Build a skilled, cross-functional team within it, within each team member. Like moving from I to T to Pi to full stack development to DevOps. Right? DevOps is our ultimate goal. Every engineer should be a DevOps engineer. That's an ultimate goal, but it's a long way to go. If I'm when I say I skilled is but I know Java, I know only Java, and only I know Java in the team. That's I skilled. All right. The T skill is I know Java. I also know a little bit of JavaScript. Right. I know JavaScript. I know a little bit of Java. So people are like able to exchange some simple work. The Pi skill is I know Java. I know JavaScript very well. I can also do some automation, or I'm also okay to do some testing. Full stack development is like I know everything about development. I can do any of this. If you go to the startup companies, everybody is a full stack developer. Startup companies of 6 people, 10 people, they cannot afford to have a full stack for having a I or T skilled people. So right, that's a goal, right? Yeah, so Anil, TDD is part of extreme programming, one of the extreme programming practices. Yeah. So the next step is DevOps. DevOps is one step beyond, a full stack. Like, I'm not only a developer, I can also, be an ops person. I can do something on the ops side. I can understand, how to deploy and how to monitor, how to support, and so on. Right. So build a culture of DevOps, right, over a period. Now, program execution. There are some ineffectiveness that at a program level. Um, the first effective, for example, after the PA planning, you see there are a bunch of program events that we have to follow, like right from PA planning, right? Are we sincerely following those, right? Most of the times I see, or good number of times that I've seen, these program level events are ineffective, or program execution is ineffective. We have done a super planning, but the execution was so ineffective. I'll give you an example. Like, Scrum Masters, I have 10 teams working together. Scrum Masters need to continuously collaborate to manage dependencies, manage the risk, and so on. If Scrum Masters don't collaborate as a community, definitely it will be a failure. Product owners don't collaborate together with the product manager. So then it becomes a more selfish, backlog. I want this and I want to build it, and I don't care about somebody else's. We need to build the topmost priority feature, not that what I want to build. Right. So we need to build that product owner sync and Scrum Master, Scrum of Scrum, and so on. System demo. This is one of the beautiful things that I see in SAFe, that the SAFe enforces that every 2 weeks at least we need to have an integrated system working, right? SAFe is all about system working together periodically. Like, we don't take it like, it's not a phase gate milestone approach. It's all about objective milestone, right? What is objective milestone? Every 2 weeks, there is a system built by these 100 people working together. It is working as a system, right? The system demo is all about that. It's not just I, as a team member, built something, it is working in my mission, but when I integrate, it's not working. It's not about that. I need to make sure that it is integrated, it's also working in the entire system, and that's beautifully put in place. Like, system demo will make sure that is well done. And if you don't do well, that's definitely an anti-pattern. Yeah. So next is prepare for PI planning. How many times we look at mid of this PI? How ready are we for the next PI? We most of the time we don't look at it, right? So we need to really look at, are we ready for looking at future, right? Are we getting ready for the next PI? Do we have a backlog for next PI? Do we have architectural guideline for next PI? Do we have infrastructure or dependencies managed well? What are the other risks we will have when we enter this PI planning? That need to happen. The last one is inspect and adapt, which is a PA level review and retrospective. How good is our program increment, right? The last 3 months we worked together. What are the few things that really went well? We want to take it forward. What are the 2 or 3 things that really failed that we want to fix it, right? Inspect and adapt. So if we don't have time to sharpen our axe, we're not going to improve, right? So SAFe enforces that we do at least half a day of I&A workshop and learn from it, and then inject back in the next PI planning. That's definitely one part of it, the event. Second is, are we integrating? The second, if you see the right side, this image is all about, are we planning together? Are we integrating together? Are we demonstrating together? Are we releasing together? Are we learning together? So in Agile, we are one as a team, as a Scrum team. We are one team, right? In SAFe, we are one team as a program team. We are 100 people. We are one set of people working for delivering some value to our customer. It is not that I'm from team A, you are from team B. So this is a culture that we need to build. And if we don't create this, so if you see here, there's a synchronization. So SAFe has a lot of ways, effective ways of synchronization. And if we don't synchronize, like if we don't synchronize as a developers, testers, and UI and Scrum Masters, product owners, is going to fail big. Yeah. So okay, the last anti-pattern I'm coming to is, what are we measuring? Why are we moving to SAFe? First of all, we need to know, why did we move? Why are we moving to SAFe? What is that few thing that is failing that we want SAFe to help us in fixing it? Is it predictability, or is it quality issues, or is it release time to market, or is it that we have uncontrolled practices? We don't have one. We are not one as a program, right? So look at that, define clear measurement, and start measuring. So there is a famous say that what gets measured gets done. So whatever you measure is what will be done. So identify the right problems, start measuring those clearly and see, are we improving? Only then we know that we are improving. One of the measures that SAFe suggests is predictability. And SAFe's way of looking at predictability is based on the business value delivery, right? So I won't get into the details. So it's like a story point. There is a business value points that given by the product manager, and you measure that. Hey, we committed like 200 business value points. How many business value points we delivered at the end of the PI? Right? Oh, okay, we delivered for 150, which means 75% is our predictability. It's not about story points, right? So this is another beautiful theory from Lean that SAFe has borrowed. Lean is all about value delivery. Customer comes and asks me for a car, I deliver a car. How fast I deliver the car, right? It's all about that value, hundreds of cars and keeping. When customer wants, can I build it in a shorter time and can I deliver it? Right? So this principle comes from that. Yeah. So next is, if you look at this, right? This is about, this is all about how much has been completed in SAFe, right? In feature development, right? If you look at this, all the features are in progress. What does it tell us? This is what I was saying. This is a beautiful waterfall, right? We have to look at that. If I need to build 10 features, the mid of the PI, if I have this status, like, all the features are in progress, this is beautiful waterfall. What can be the best? What can be the right thing? Hey, we picked 10 features. We actually delivered 5. The remaining 5 not even started, right? So that's very important to measure, right? So constantly measure this every sprint, and that will build agile development. Yeah. And then you can define something like what's your velocity, PI over PI, and the number of features that we delivered every PI. What is our unit test code coverage? What are the number of open defects or number of defects that have been injected in each PI? Right, percentage automation, non-functional requirement. All of these can be defined and measured. I'm just building some of this. Yeah, I'm just showing some of the metrics. There are many more metrics in SAFe. You can click on the metrics in a big picture. It'll explain, but these are all some of the good metrics that you can actually pick, right? The pipeline efficiency. So this clearly shows that the blue is average time that we spend that in execution, and orange is average wait time. When I say wait time, like for example, backlog, we spend like 3 days in building a backlog, but to get a clarity for a particular backlog, we waited for a month because the query was not answered well, right? So we waited for 90% of the time just to get an answer for a query. So this clearly shows efficiency at each layer, right? So if you see, this is a value stream where you do analysis and then do a backlog and then implement and then validate and staging, then deploy and release it, right? There is a flow. There is a backlog move from one end to another. What is efficiency in each of this phase, and remove that inefficiencies. Yeah, there's another metrics that will show you the inefficiency. Finally, we have a program level, team level, a self-assessment, and I always look at how agile are we, right? In terms of as a team, like in terms of following practices, process, and so on. How agile are we? So look at it and constantly improve. Right? This can be done through some surveys, some bunch of questions, and that will tell you as a team, are we more at a process level or a structure level or a culture level based on the bunch of questions that you ask to the team. Yeah. Okay, so these are all the five different. There are many more anti-patterns that I have seen, but these, in my experience, these are all the 5 critical anti-patterns that will fail your SAFe implementation. Right? If you don't fix these anti-patterns, you are not going to succeed in SAFe. And SAFe, so if you want to succeed, in SAFe implementation, SAFe is a very prescriptive framework. Let me put it this way, right? SAFe is a very, very prescriptive framework. It clearly gives a guideline as to how you should do step by step in implementation, and it's for a reason, because there is no thing called self-organized at a program level. Like you cannot self-organize hundreds of people, right? So you need to organize them. SAFe framework, makes organizes so well that we are able to deliver value. So please make sure, if you're implementing SAFe, make sure that these anti-patterns are completely eradicated, or you're close to zero in these anti-patterns. and for you to be successful. I'm sure if you follow this, you will be very, very successful. I have seen big failures. I have seen huge success in safe, and it's not because of me. It's not because of the team. It's because of some of these aspects, because of a leader, because of the team agility that is not put in place, and so on. Yeah. So great. So thanks for listening to me all this while. Let me check the time. Oh, okay. We overshot. I think looks like some 10 more minutes. I think that I took 10 minutes that we wasted in the beginning. Okay. So any more questions that you have? If you don't have any questions, thanks for joining. It's great. If you want to know anything more about our programs or our workshops, or you can go to our website called leanwisdom.com. You will see a lot of and a lot more information about us. There are YouTube videos I've recorded and put it there, a bunch of YouTube videos, and you can look forward to many more videos. I think in a month or so we are going to launch a bunch of new videos about agile and safe and all that. So keep watching, and I'm sure hope you had a good learning. Thanks a lot. Any other feedback, please write to me, jp@leanwisdom.com. I'm more than happy to take any feedback so that we can constantly improve. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think good. I've been watching this chat, and it was great to see a lot of interesting questions and conversations. I probably wouldn't have answered all the questions. Please bear with me. Again, I'm more than happy to answer your questions offline. Right? Feel free to just shoot a mail, share your number. I have no problem calling you and talking to you, for half an hour or 1 hour. Yeah. Thank you so much.